everyone, it's Julia and welcome to my channel and welcome all my new subscribers. This is a channel where I share a creative sewing project every week and I'm so happy to have you here today. Last week I shared an upcycled project. We went into a thrift store and got a bunch of thrifted capri pants and I upcycled one of those. I'll link that down below, that video, if you missed it, and also up in the iCards. But today I wanted to share another project with you out of something I also picked up at the thrift store on the same trip. And that was a bag of this netting tulle in a lot of different colors. The whole bag was $1 and there's a lot of different scraps and just pieces of it. So I wanted to create something with that today. And I decided on making some of my fabric cuffs. I do have a free template for you. Also will be linked down below. It's over on my website. So if any of you want to try this, it's a super simple pattern, but it's just handy to have it already for you don't have to draw it out yourself. And so if you want to join and follow along, that'll be over there. But let's get started. Some of the supplies that I'm going to be using, I have a piece of orange petite fabric. I have my template. I am using an elastic cord, a backing fabric for the back of the cuff, and then I'm going to be using some fusible mid-weight interfacing and some scraps. I'll have all my supplies listed down below for your convenience if you're interested in using what I'm using. I also cut out some circles that were the same circles that were in my lining fabric. I have my netting and then I'm pulling out some fiber. I'm just random scraps of fiber that a viewer sent me. Thank you so much. And laying out these squares or little scraps that I've kind of cut more into squares and rectangles. Just doing a color block look on this. All of this netting that I picked up just reminded me of fall, and that's where I got the idea of a fall accessory. So I'm making these cuffs, and the base fabric also is a very fall looking fabric. So pretty, I just love it. We certainly have fall today in Minnesota. I think we woke up, it was 35 degrees. So we wore a stocking hat for my early morning walk. Laying that tulle on top now, and I'm completely covering the piece. And this tulle was quite narrow, and so I had to use like three different layers there to cover that whole piece of fabric. Just tucking everything in. So I'm just making a sandwich out of this. I'm adding some pins now to try to keep it all together. Now to my sewing machine, and the first thing I'm going to do, I have multicolored thread that I'm using. I'm going to link that down below too for you. But the first thing I'm going to do is I want to just stitch all the way around this just to enclose it. And also stitch right down the center of this so that I am joining both pieces of that netting that I had to piece. And I'm just using my regular sewing machine, regular foot. My feed dogs are up and I'm just using a straight stitch. I'm now switching my foot to my free motion foot, and I'm using the darner foot for this because I have so many different layers, and this will automatically adjust to those layers. I have my feed dogs dropped, and I still have that variegated colored thread on. Really adds an interest up to this piece at the end, and you can really see that that thread. And I am just going wild with this, circling some of those pieces, getting all that to trim down. That netting has a sparkle to it and it's so pretty. You can kind of see it there. See the back, everything is all stitched into place. And now it's time to cut out my cuffs, and I can get 3 of these cuffs off this one piece of fabric. Just using my rotary cutter there to do that. This is a wonderful project if you are a beginner at free motion stitching. You can really, it's a great practice. And I've got all 3 of my pieces cut, and I'm going to be saving all those scraps because they're going to be a wonderful little addition to another kind of a collage. I do have my back of my cuffs cut as well, and I did add that fusible
interfacing to the back of that fabric. I didn't show that, but I did add that just to give it a little bit more structure. I cut 4 inches of that cording, and then I tied a knot at the end. And I do that just so that everything stays secure. And as you can see here, I use my button sewing on foot to get that elastic sewn on. I just find that that works the best, and I use a multi-zigzag stitch to get that elastic in place. Have right sides together now, and I'm going to be enclosing this. So I have my lining on the top there, or the backing, and that interfacing is up. I did make a couple little spots. I do want to leave like a 3-inch opening on the long end of this cuff, of one of the long end of one of the sides of the cuff. Stitched all the way around using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and now just trimming some of my corners. We'll be turning this now right sides out. I do use a pokey tool here too to get that all just nice and even. Use that elastic actually to help pull that. And then getting that pokey tool into those corners to get those corners out. Using my fingers to roll those seams too. And we'll be folding this opening, folding it, and we'll be stitching all the way around this. And again, grabbing my ironing mat here, because I'm going to give this one little press. Now be mindful that that netting, like I'm pressing on the back side of this, because that netting is not going to take it's not going to take much heat. So just kind of be mindful of that. And again, just getting those nice and flat. Folding that opening down. And that'll all be stitched in my next step. And to my sewing machine and top stitching this all the way around.
My cuffs are finished, and I wanted just to share with you some of the things I added. I like adding lace motifs to the top of them. This one has like a little paisley look to it, and I add the little beads. The shank button is a metal button. Some of the trim I do like to run off the edge, so it just adds another dimension to it. And I do stitch those laces on or trims on with free motion stitching with a bobbin thread that blends on the back. So the back is nice and neat as well. This one also has a lace motif with a flower, and I ran those beads around the center and some clusters of beads throughout. I do like to wear the button in the front a little bit, just kind of adds. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to share some pictures. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have a creative week. Bye for now.